We welcome each and every one of us to the second day of the Client Aspire Masterclass workshop on publishing Q1 and Q2 papers using meta-analysis. We appreciate our registration for the program. And as we all know that the January 4 training centered on the methodology, the protocol, and the principles that govern how meta-analysis is being conducted. So today we are going to another session where we are going to look at how to run the analysis, then how to run the analysis, what are those details that we need to extract from the analysis to write our papers, and what are those things that we must be conscious about when writing these papers so that our papers will not be rejected. We already have Dr. Saba in our midst. So Dr. Saba, you have the floor.
Hello. Thank you very much. Again, I'm pleased to be here. We appreciate our participation since last week, and today is going to be a continuation of the class on meta-analysis. So we have been able to, just like Mr. Bamiro said, we have been able to run through the basics. A minute. So we have been able to run through the basics of systematic review and meta-analysis. And one of the highlights is that there is a need to have a very good question. Your question will determine the quality of your analysis. So if you have a very good question, then you are likely going to be having a good basis for your meta-analysis. And just like we said, systematic literature review is more of a qualitative review, while meta-analysis is more of a quantitative review. A situation whereby you get data from existing research based on your question, and you compare them. And that's why in the PICO framework, we have what we call the comparator. So you want to compare, you want to see if really statistically there is the results are favoring a particular direction. Is it favoring the control or the intervention, or is it favoring intervention A as compared to intervention B? So today we are going to move on, and I believe that we have all downloaded the RevMan software. If I want to know if there's anyone here who is yet to download the RevMan software. Okay. So it seems we have all downloaded it, and that's very good, because most of the work today will be on RevMan. So if you have downloaded it, I want to urge you to open it. I'm going to share my screen now. So I'm trying to open my RevMan software too. Share. Okay, so I believe my screen is visible, right? Hello. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it. It's visible.
Okay,
Yeah,
sir.
we can see it.
So this is the software for those of us who have downloaded it. So this software, as we have been told earlier, that what it does is to help you um, to come up with the statistical analysis of the data you impute. Those data you collected from different studies that you want to meta-analyze. So you bring them into RevMan, and RevMan generates the plot, and from that you can take your decision. You can discuss it further in your paper. So I've just opened my RevMan here. So I want to quickly run through it, and again we'll now impute the data afterwards. So when you open RevMan, this is what you see. It brings this dialog box saying welcome to Review Manager 5.4. So for this one, we don't need it. We have to just close it. We don't need it. You close it. Then you go. I don't know if you can see the menu bar up here. We have the file, edit, and so on. So under, it's either you click on file and click on new, or use this icon, this white icon, like a white sheet, to create a new review. So then you go to file, then you click on new. And also, it has a shortcut. You can also say Control N. If you do Control N, it will also open a new sheet for your new meta-analysis. So I want to click new. So after clicking new, what you see is welcome to the new review wizard. So this new is just like opening a new Microsoft Word sheet. You want to start a new paper. You want to start writing something new. So you open a new Microsoft Word sheet. That is just the similitude of what you can find here. So welcome to Review Wizard. Then next, just click on next. So now, when you click on next, you come to the interface that talks about what type of review do you want to do? Intervention review, diagnosis test. But for our own purpose, we are doing intervention review. Just like we explained the other time, a situation whereby you are comparing a placebo to an intervention, or a control to an intervention, or you are comparing two different interventions. So intervention review, then next. Okay. So once you come to next, there should be a title for based on the objective. So you just need to put your title, maybe, for example, like what I'm trying to consider now is heavy metals. Let's say heavy metal bioaccumulation. We can still edit it further, but for now, to keep it simple, we'll give it a title, then click on next again. So once you get here, it's okay, protocol, yes. So we want to do a meta-analysis. So once you get here, just go to finish. Protocol is okay, then finish. So once you click on finish, so the title is here. You can edit it, heavy metal bioaccumulation. So you can edit later. So now we have created a new sheet for our meta-analysis. The next thing is the first thing you should do after creating a new sheet is to add the studies that you want to use, the studies you are extracting data from. The next thing is to add the studies. So if you look at this left side of the screen, you see different information, type 2 protocol information, main text. We don't really need all these ones. All we need here is to impute our studies. So here you see icon, studies and references. I don't know if you can see my cursor. So studies and references after tables. So that is where we are going. We want to add our studies. And to add the studies, once you click on this, you should right click. Sorry. So to add the studies, you're supposed to right click. Okay, sorry. A minute. Since 1 minute. I want to check something. Please, 1 minute. Let me create the new one again. Next. Next. Let's just leave it. Think. Okay, so sorry. So normally we are supposed to is under the studies and references, you click on data and analysis. Data and analysis, so that we can add the different studies we are going to be using. So you click on data and analysis. So once you click on data and analysis, you right click on data analysis and click on add comparison. It will bring you another box. So in that box, you also need to name the comparison. Maybe you want to compare heavy metal accumulation. Heavy metal accumulation. Okay, so once you give it a name, we are comparing heavy metal accumulation in the control group and the experimental group. So next, so what do you want to do after the wizard is closed? So if maybe you don't want to continue working on it, so you can say nothing. We're going to add an outcome. So the next thing we're going to be doing now is to add an outcome under the new comparison. So you just click on continue. Okay, so again, depending on the type of analysis you want to do, if it is based on a continuous data, just like we mentioned the other time, we said that we have two types. We have continuous and dichotomous. Dichotomous is when you are dealing with counts. You are dealing with counts, number of success or failure, mortality, survival, and so on. So that is a dichotomous data. So you go for dichotomous. But if it is the other way around, if you are dealing with means and standard deviations, then you go for continuous. So I think let's go for continuous for now. Then click on next. So now, for this outcome, which parameter are we measuring? Which parameter are you measuring? So that is the outcome we are talking about. So we want to also name the parameter. Maybe the one we are looking at, maybe we are looking at, let's just say different heavy metals. So it's still, we are not specific. We want to generalize it and focus on heavy metals generally. So the outcome will be, okay, sorry, the outcome will be bioaccumulation. accumulation. So okay, so group 1 is the experimental group, and group 2 is the control group. Okay, but for me, I want to make group 1 the control, and I want to make group 2 the experimental. Okay, so having done this, we'll go to the next. So when you click on next, because we are working on a continuous data, so you have the option of the statistical method. Of course, it's inverse variance. This is the general one. Then again, here it's better to pick random effects, because if you pick fixed effects, then there is no room for some little differences that may occur among the studies. So it's better to pick random effects. Then again, we have the mean difference and the standard mean difference. So the mean difference can be used when maybe the parameters of measurement across the studies are similar, they are the same. But sometimes the parameters, maybe the units may be different. So in that case, if you have situations whereby the units of measurement are different, it's better to pick what? Standardized mean difference. But in a case where the units of measurement are similar across the studies, then the mean difference will be a good option. Sorry. Then the mean difference will be a good option. Then the mean difference will be a good option. So it's better to pick the mean difference. Minutes. I lost what I was doing. So I want to quickly take you back there. Okay. Okay, so this next box is showing the confidence interval. So depending on the one you want to use, in this case, 95% is a popular one. So we're going to, it's the most common one. So we're going to stick with 95% confidence interval. Okay, so now this one is talking about the graph when it comes out. So the left graph, what does it stand for? What will the left graph indicate? And what will the right graph indicate? So just like I did the other time, I put control before the experimental. So the left graph, you can decide to leave it this way, but it's because of the way I've arranged my data. So I prefer to put the control on the left side and the intervention on the right side. So intervention. Okay, so after this, it is asking that how do you want to sort your studies? How do you want to sort the data? Is it by study type, year of study, weight? So I think study ID. We want to sort it by study ID. That is to follow alphabetical order in sorting it. So after that, you are done. You can go to next. So here, to edit other properties for the outcome, open. What do you want to do after the wizard is closed? So after the wizard, you want to edit the outcome. So you click on, you leave it the way it is, then finish. Okay. So this is the template for the forest plot. But for now, we have not added any studies. We have not added the studies. So now we need to go back and add the studies and the So please, is there anybody there who has downloaded RevMan? I want this one person to load the software and follow the procedure. Let's see. Is there anybody doing that now? Please open
Yes,
the
I'm
software.
following.
Okay, have you opened your software?
Yes, all that you have been doing, I've been following.
Oh, you have been doing. Okay. Okay, so I want to check something. I want you to come to this left sidebar where we have the intervention review and all this information. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so this data and analysis, can you see it?
Yes, sir.
I want you to, okay, thank you. I want you to, okay, sorry, studies and references. Studies and references. I want you to right click on it. Right click on studies and references.
All right, sir. I've seen.
Have you done that?
Yes, notes, print, help.
Okay, you can also see note, print, and help.
Yes.
Okay, now click on this. There's one line by the left of that studies and references. Can you see it?
Yes.
With a note. I'm clicking on it right now.
Yes.
Yes. Can you see it?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So click on that. Then right click on references to the studies.
Okay. Yes, I've seen add study,
Okay.
notes, print, help.
Yeah. So this is where we add the studies. So
Okay.
once you get to this point, I want to ask, is there any other person who is where we are? I want to encourage us to try our hands on it and try to add something while we are doing it now. If you are there, please let me indicate, please.
Yes, I'm there.
Okay.
Yes,
Where else
I'm
is there?
there. I'm there
Click
too.
study references. I mean references to studies.
References to studies. Yes, references to studies. Right click on it.
Yes, I've done that. It brings out included, exclude.
Oh, yes.
Studies.
So included studies. If you come to included studies, when you right click on it, when you click on add studies, then you click on next. Yes. What we want to select is included studies. So then next. So this is where we now add the references to the studies we want to include in our meta-analysis. So for this, I've extracted some data from some studies. I need to add them. So for example, what I'm trying to look at is just like I said, bioaccumulation of heavy metals in some fish species. So I saw these different studies, Wang et al., Kim et al., Shukla et al. So they reported some data, some information about bioaccumulation, both for control and the treatment. So what we want to do, there are two things we want to do. The first one is to do a general analysis, because as you can see here, these heavy metals were measured, about accumulation were measured in different organs. So each study, in some studies they did for different organs, brain, muscle, and so on and so forth. I missed many other information they have. So but the reason why I expected many of this information is for me to look at be able to screen them based on heterogeneity to see, okay, what are the parameters reported by the first study? What are the circumstances that surround the study in comparison to the other studies too? So if I see, because in some studies they use different treatments, so I want to look at the treatment that aligns the most with what is obtainable in other studies. So, but not to bore you too much on that, these are the studies, basically. So what we need now, the first thing we need to do is to add these studies to the RevMan. So the first one is, so the first study we are going to be looking at is sorry, this Zoom icon is blocking my view. Okay, yes, this is where I want to go. So okay, so we are going to be looking at them. We are going to be adding them one by one. So the first one is Wang et al. 2016. So the reason why you can see here, I put A, B, C, D. Ordinarily, we are supposed to have, possible for us to have different studies like this, but the reason why I'm using the same studies because they reported these values in different organs. So I just categorize them as if it's the same, just for the purpose of this exercise. One thing we can also do, perhaps, maybe we change the name. We can still change the name just to assume that this study represents another author. So, but it doesn't really matter. We can do that. So in inputting the data, I'm going to do that. I'm going to change the name to something else so that we can see that difference in studies. So for the first study, I want to add Wang et al. 2016. Okay. Wang et al. 2016. Done. Next. 20. So it will ask in which year the study was the study done? Is 2016. Next. Next. So when you get here, you need to add a reference for the new study. You have added one study. Again, add reference for the new study, then continue. Okay, sorry. Okay, so you add another study. We have added one get 2016. Okay, let's say this one is John et al. 2016. I'm just changing it for the purpose of this class. John et al. 2016. So we also add next, 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 next. Then we add another study. Chung. Chung et al. 20, let's say 2017. Chung et al. 2017. Okay. So normally, we're supposed to click on add another study to the same, so that we'll not keep going back again to right click on the references to studies. So you see that now. Okay. Let's assume this one get all. Okay, you did another study. Which name can we use now? Okay, let's use Benga et al. 2018. Yeah. Benga. Click on next, 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 next. So here, we're supposed to click on add another study, so long as we want to continue adding more studies. To add another study in the same section, then continue, so that immediately it brings us here, we can easily add the next study. So the next one here is Kim et al. 2015. So we keep doing this again and again until we completely add all the studies. But for this, because of time, I'll add just 2 more now. After Kim, and I'll add, let me change this one, Kim to Jonathan et al. 2019. Okay. So we're going to use only these 8 studies. So I'm adding Jonathan et al. Next, 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 next. Add another study. Continue. Then the last one. Shukla et al. 2007. Okay, so we have successfully added all our studies. So now what we need to do now, we have also created the study outcome and all the necessary information. So what we want to do now is to add the data. We need to add the data. So the other time I created two. Okay, so we need to add the data now. So to add the data, when you get here, so to get here, just like I did just now, you click on the data and analysis. Data and analysis, it will bring all the studies we have added. So you click on the study, and it will bring the comparison you want to do, and you click on it to bring this table. So once you get this table, the next thing is to add. You can see all the studies we have added so far. So you click on this icon with the plus sign up here.
Sorry, sir, please, can you see that again? I don't know how you got to the table.
Okay, how we got the table? Okay, again. You go back to data and analysis. Are you following? So this is data and analysis. Come to data and analysis.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yes, I can see.
Yes, data analysis. So you double click on data analysis. So the study you created earlier is showing here now. So the other time
Yes, sir.
I mistakenly closed the first one, so I created a second one. So the second one is correct one. So you now click on it. So once you click on it,
Okay.
it shows the where the table is for you to input your data. So you click on it too. So once you click on it, to bring the table. Is it clear?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Yeah. So once you see the table, the next thing is to add the studies to this table. You know, sometimes you may have added, maybe when you did your work at the end of the day, you got maybe 70 or 60 studies from which you extracted data, 60. But sometimes, maybe among those 60, some of them eventually did not meet up with your criteria for meta-analysis, so you may not need them. So, but when you click on this add study data, I don't know if you can see the location of the icon for the add study data. So on this icon, when you click on it, it will show you all the studies that you have added so far. So it is now for you to select which one you want to use in this particular meta-analysis. So for example, we had chunk. So for this one, if you want to select, you can select them one by one, or you can select them together at once. So if you want to select them together at once, you hold on onto the control key and select them one by one. So all of them will now be selected. So control, then you select them one by one. Then you click on finish. So once you click on finish, all the studies have been added now. Is it clear? So now
Yes.
that you have all the studies in there, the next thing is to add the study data. So we said we have the control and experimental. So the data we need the mean, the standard deviation, and the total number of the sample size, total number of samples that were involved in that experiment. So the mean, the standard deviation, and the total number of samples involved in that particular experiment. So once you get these three information for each of the studies, then you are good to go. So I'll go to my table where I prepared the data, where I kept all the data I extracted from the studies. So I've already arranged them, but let's look at how RevMan arranged them. So here, RevMan arranged them alphabetically. RevMan arranged studies alphabetically because the other time we picked we picked study ID as a criteria for arrangement. In some cases, you may pick year as a criteria for the arrangement, but in this case, we picked the study ID as a criteria. So RevMan has arranged it based on the study ID, and that is the alphabetical order. So if we have, since you have alphabetical order, and this is my data in Excel, I already extracted them. So I also need to extract data in line with the, so I'll look at it, okay, the first one here is Strong et al. 2017. So I have Strong et al. Here. So I need to extract the data for the control, that's mean, standard deviation, then the total, then for the treatment to mean, standard deviation, total. So I purposely arrange it like this so that I can easily copy and paste. So for Chong, I just come here, Control V, automatically the data is in. Again, I go again, Benga et al. I also select the mean, the standard deviation, the total number for both control and intervention, then I paste. I do the same for Wang et al. The mean, the standard deviation, total, both for control and the treatment, and I paste there. Again, John. Sorry. So I do the same thing again and again until I exhaust the data. So we have Jonathan, the next one. Copy and paste. Next one is Kim. Copy, paste, Shukla, copy, paste. Is it clear to this level? Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Clear enough. Okay, so as we can see, our forest plot is already plotted by the side here with all the necessary data. So here you can adjust the forest plot depending on, you can adjust it. This thing is stopping me. Yes, so we already have our forest plot here. So if you click on this, these are different icons here. This first icon, of course, as I said earlier, is to add the study data. Then here too, you can change, if for example, what we picked here was a mean difference. We try to look at the mean difference. You can change, okay, sorry, we use standardized mean difference. You can change it to mean difference, or you can see it has changed to mean difference. If it's mean difference, it gives a different result. But we are using standardized mean difference. So you can change it here. Then we also have fixed effects or random effects. So you may decide to look at, okay, what would be the outcome if I were to use the fixed effects. So here we use random effect, but if I click on it, it will change it to fixed effects. So for both fixed or random, the results still point to the same direction. So then the fourth icon here is for the forest plot. If you want to see the graphic of the forest plot. So this is the figure you are going to extract for your publication at the end of the day. So as you can see, we have the parameters. The first one is the heterogeneity, which is measured using I-square. So the I-square value is 95%, and um, the significant value is 0.00001. So it's significant. So it shows that the heterogeneity in these studies is a bit high according to the analysis, but it's still okay. It doesn't really matter. That is why we had to use random effects. Random effects.
Sorry, sir.
So,
Get
hello?
this to I'm so sorry. I'm asking, how did you get to this point?
Okay, I got this one. Okay, again, I was explaining the icons up here. The first one, we had already used it, and that is the one that we use to add the study data.
Yes, sir.
This sheet with a plus sign. Then the second one, I said you can use it to change some of the parameters you have set at the beginning. So in our own analysis, we decided to use what standardized mean difference, but you can still change it back to what mean difference. So that SMD is standardized mean difference. MD is what mean difference. Then also you can change this one random effect or fixed effect. We use random effect. You can change it to fixed effect here if you like, depending on the nature of your data. Then again, the fourth one is what gave us that figure. That look, this forest plot icon. Once you click on it, it will now bring you the forest plot of this particular one we have done. And that's where you now see the different values. So as you can see here, the data, according to the data, it tells us that it favors control. It favors control. It means that bioaccumulation is accumulation of metals. Okay. Sorry. I think by default, this left side is supposed to be for the intervention. Because when you look at it, you see that for the experimental group, the mean values are way higher than that of the control group. The mean values, the mean bioaccumulation values for the experimental group are way higher than that of the control group. And that is why the analysis at the end of the day, we are supposed to change this label. We are supposed to change the label to what we actually capture, because this one is the default label. So we are going to change it in order to capture the reality we have in our data. A minute, I think we need to do some editing. Make this. Okay. Okay, so I want to edit the group label.
So how did you get to these points that you were able to make this?
Yes, I'll do that now. I will explain that now. Okay, so at the end of the day, if you want to edit some of the parameters you have stated for this particular analysis, so you just come here. Can you see this icon? Settings or properties icon. So that's where you go to. Just click on it, and with that you can edit maybe the name. Maybe if you want it to be, you want to change to contain dichotomous or whatever. So that's general information about it. Then you can also change the analysis method, the analysis details, then how the graph will look like. So you can also edit it. You can also edit it. So that is how to do that. So once you do that, you apply and okay. So this is the forest plot. This is the outcome of the analysis, showing that the bioaccumulation in the intervention is significantly higher across studies compared to what is obtainable in the control. So this one is, it can be a general analysis. We can also do what we call the subgroup analysis. Sometimes, just like what we have in the Excel sheet, sometimes, like this table you can see here, maybe in my general analysis, some studies were looking at different heavy metals. Maybe 5 studies talk about lead, another 5 studies zinc, cadmium, and so on and so forth. So the first thing I'll do is to do the general analysis, to use all the data for different heavy metals to see, okay, I want to look at the general outcome when it comes to all the heavy metals. So we are considering all the heavy metals in the group. Then secondly, you can also separate them based on different characteristics. You can separate them based on the type of heavy metal and carry out what we call a group analysis for it. So for example, I cannot pick all the studies that are talking only about lead and add them as a subgroup to see what the outcome will be. So in this case, we are not looking at it generally, because sometimes what you get as an outcome in the general analysis may be different from what you get when you consider them group by group. And that is why subgroup analysis is also good in some cases. So you may want to do some subgroup analysis to see what will happen when you narrow it down to a particular group. Okay. So I want us to try and include a subgroup analysis.
By charger.
Is there any question so far? Is there okay? I can see.
Aye. Aye.
Hello.
Yeah, I observe. In fact, this is quite interesting. But as a social scientist, we
Yeah.
find this a bit difficult for us now. Maybe when we keep playing the video, we'll arrive at certain conclusion. Right.
Yes.
But I wish to know how.
Okay.
I wish to know how what you are concluding based on this analysis.
Yeah.
Looking at the control and the experimental variables. What are you concluding? What is your final, what's your conclusion based on this? Because as a social scientist, after doing analysis, we expect to make policy statements based on the conclusion of derived from the analysis. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, when we set out to do this meta-analysis, we started with the question that when we look at the control and the experimental groups, can we say that the heavy metal bioaccumulation is significantly higher meta-analytically, based on the different studies? And if you look at different studies too, we are considering the mean, the standard deviation, as well as the sample size used in each of the studies. So this is what RevMan would work on to give a final result based on the weights allotted to each of the studies. Now, if you can see, you see here that each of the studies they have different weights allotted to them. So the first one here is just contributing 11.2% to the overall outcome. The same thing goes for others. So at the end of the day, our final outcome is tilting towards the intervention. And what it means is that if it tilts toward intervention, it means that the bioaccumulation of heavy metal in the tissues are significantly, you can say they are significantly higher compared to the control across the studies. So the same thing when we have maybe a social scientific situation, maybe there is a particular teaching method that has been introduced, or an educational based method that has been introduced to teach certain students, and at the end of the day, we are trying to measure their performance. So maybe the performance is measured based on scores in particular tests or what have you, maybe across, maybe during the term. So we collect, maybe they did 5 tests, so we now collect the average mark and the standard deviation. So with that, we bring it here to see. So we collect the data for each of the teaching approaches. So we want to say, okay, which of these two teaching approaches is better? So when you bring the data here, there's going to be an analysis of data, and at the end of the day, you have a decision based on the final outcome given by
where the weight is.
Yes. So based on the final outcome,
Just
so
like like distribution.
Yeah, but this one we call it forest plot in this case. So this is all you have. You have a
forest plot, not distribution. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have this forest plot to give a visual representation of where the outcome tilts to. Where do they tilt to? So, and that is why that's why we are having that here. That most of the data are actually tilting more towards the intervention, and with that, we can now take a decision. Maybe between the two different teaching approaches, you can say, okay, the teaching approach A is significantly better than approach B, so we can know which direction to go. But before then, we must have been seeing different, maybe different results from different studies. In some cases, maybe they show that the intervention is actually significantly better, or in another case may not be significant, or in another case the old control is better than the intervention and all that. So this one will now help us. Amidst the
balance.
Yes. So the variety of results we have out there, we can now statistically or quantitatively take a decision. I can see a hand up. Okay.
Yes, his hand is up. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Am I audible?
Yes.
So I wanted to observe that this particular RevMan seems to be more inclined to the science field, because I've been trying to follow your process and I realized that it's more of a science thing. In social science, we don't do that control group and all that. So I would want you to link how this RevMan can help in our literature review and all that as social science students. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma. So in social science too, you have control, because we are just using the scientific term control.
Terms, yes, we have the
dependent. Yes, just science, we can translate it to the social science balance. So in social science, depending on what the research is on, this one I'm calling control. I don't know what you call it in I don't know what you may call it in social science. But what is clear is that we have maybe a group that we are comparing with another group. So the first group we are comparing maybe did not receive any intervention. I don't know if anybody can help me with the Okay, I see. Okay, Dr. Ayawale. Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, our presenter. Regarding the question asked by the last participant, in social sciences or behavioral research also is the same thing. You have an experimental group and you have a control group. Just that in behavioral research and social sciences, we don't have true experimental design. However, we call our own a quasi-experimental design, or probably you use what I call pseudo design. And it means that there is no true randomization in that wise. So definitely you have a control group and you have an experimental group, which is similar to what our presenter was talking about. So it's very similar. The only difference is that in social sciences and behavioral research, we do more of quasi-experimental design than those in sciences that do true experimental design, where there is affordability of doing true randomization of their subjects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ayawale. So I think that clarifies it. But if we, if you have maybe an example of a research you are thinking of, we can now contextualize it. Maybe for meta-analysis. You know, the other time we said we should come up with a problem or a question that we want to get answers to, and possibly that we're going to do a meta-analysis for. So if you have something that we can also contextualize to bring out, to show you that we can also have, just like Dr. Ayewale said, that we can have a quasi-experimental situation. It may not be 100%, just like we do in science, that we can control many of the variables. So, but at least we know the variables we are measuring, and we try, in social science, we try as much as possible to select the participants in different groups to have similar characteristics. So with that, we can get something similar. So it's also applicable to social sciences, and it's more or less very similar situation. So I don't know if that clarifies your question.
Yeah, it clarifies it. Thank you. So on example of topic, I'm looking at something that I know I've worked on decent work agenda on domestic workers. So I wanted to do the control thing there. So thank you.
Okay, before we do that, I want to, this one we did now is about, if I do the second example now, it will give more clarity. This one is about a continuous data. So I want us to do something on dichotomous data, and that will help. So we will still leave this particular one and try to create a new analysis. Try to create a new analysis using the dichotomous approach. Okay, so we are still going same way. I believe what I'm doing now, I've done it before, so I don't think it should be new. So I want to quickly create another one so that we can use the dichotomous data. So we are using heavy metals. I can see hand up. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Okay, sir. Please, sir, for the heterogeneity value. So, are we the one to set the value, or is it a default value?
No, once you input your data, the RevMan will do the calculation. So you just need to report it and talk about it. That's all.
Okay.
Yes, RevMan will give you the value.
Okay, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, following up with that question, the heterogeneity was 95%. So what is the implication of that?
Yes.
In this study?
Yes. Of course, in most cases, one implication, there are several implications we can have. One is that in situations whereby maybe you have differences in sample size, it can lead to high heterogeneity, or in some cases where you have differences apart from sample size, you can also have differences in the standard deviations. If you look at the software, look at how varied standard deviations are, the means, and so on. So it will use all this information to come up with the heterogeneity value. So it calculates the heterogeneity based on all these information. Then in some cases too, the sample size, the standard deviation, the means, and so on and so forth. So these are the major, because it is calculated based on the data you supply. So, and all these data, if they seem to be a kind of different and varied across board, then there's a tendency that the heterogeneity value is going to be high. But it doesn't matter, even if the heterogeneity is high, because we don't expect that different studies will do exactly the same thing across board. So, but the only thing is just that while discussing during the write-up, one should note the high heterogeneity value and the possible reasons for it, and why we can still go ahead to use the outcome to take a decision. Because of course, you can only meta-analyze what is available. So, or in another case, if you feel the heterogeneity is too high, maybe you still want to check your criteria for the included studies. Maybe you want to make it more homogeneous and that is why we also do subgroup analysis to focus on a particular group. You know, in some cases, maybe because we want to have a wider coverage studies. So maybe we want to include some studies with varied criteria. Maybe, for example, studies that consider different heavy metals. So we want to include all of them. But if you want to be more homogeneous, you want to exclude those ones. You want to focus on some specific heavy metals. So you can be more specific to increase the homogeneity and reduce the heterogeneity. But most of the time, you will see that the heterogeneity value is usually high. Most of the time that I've seen, from my experience, I see that the heterogeneity value is usually high. So when you are able to convince the reviewers that you have factored in all these criteria, you have made sure that your study is as homogeneous as possible based on your selection criteria, have excluded studies that may bias your reporting, and you are including only studies that have similar conditions, then it will help to solve the aspect of the problem. But it is important to make sure that one mentions it during the discussion. One should talk about it and give reasons why you can go ahead, why you felt it's still okay for you to take your decision based on what you have done in your methodology stage, based on how you have been able to exclude some studies that will not, that will add more problem, that will cause a bigger heterogeneity problem. So I think that will help. I don't know if that answers the question.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. And based on that explanation now, so what informed the choice of fixed and random effects?
Okay. Yes. Yes, and that when you have just like I said the other time, fixed effect is when you are sure that there is no heterogeneity. When you are 100% sure that you don't want to give room for any differences across the studies. So that's when you come up, you use fixed effect, but it is usually advised to use random effects, especially when you can find certain differences, maybe in sample size and so on. And of course, you can't do without having differences in sample size and some other differences like that, because the studies were carried out in different conditions, different situations. So tendency that these differences will occur, and that is why it's usually advised to use the random effect.
Thank you very much, sir. So with your experience, sir, this is my last question anyway. With your experience in meta-analysis, so let's assume now that we are now conceding that we go for fixed effect, and then at the end of the day, will that affect or lessen the percentage of heterogeneity?
Yeah, we can see. We can even check it out now and see. Because just like I said, you can change. You can sorry. You can just like I said, you can change the parameters and see the effect on the outcome. Okay. You can change the parameter and see what the effect will be on the outcome. Sorry. I think there's an error here. What I did just now, I forgot to save it. What we did, I forgot to save it, and now I think I've lost it. So I wanted to show you, but we are going to do another one now. Let's just go straight to another. Let's add some new studies showing the. So when I get there, I'm going to show the impact of changing either fixed or random effect. But what's important is that when you use, if your study has a lot of dynamism, and you use fixed effect, then they will ask you, why did you use fixed effect? Why not use random effect to give you that room to cater for that differences that you may have? You get it? So that's one of the reasons why you want to use random effect as opposed to fixed effect. Okay, so I want us to do, we have done a continuous, we have analyzed based on the continuous data. I want us to analyze based on dichotomous data quickly. So for that, we add studies again, and after adding the studies, the next thing is to create the outcome. So let's quickly add some studies to quickly run the dichotomous analysis. So here I have some data, just 3 studies we are going to be using in this case. So we are talking about survival of certain organism when exposed to heavy metals. So the number of individuals that survive in this case are the ones here for the control and for the intervention. So for the control, here we have 10/12, 11/12, 15/20. And for the intervention, we have 5/12, 8/12, 9/20. It means that more of them survive in the control, and in the intervention, there is a higher mortality. So we are going to input the studies first and foremost. Okay, so we have added the studies. So the next thing is to add data. Okay, so for us to add the data, we need to add the comparison. So we want to compare, let's just say mortality, no, survivor. So the next one, we're going to do add an outcome under the new comparison. So the comparison is going to compare the survivors. We add an outcome. So here, to ask is it dichotomous or continuous? So in this case, we are looking at dichotomous. So what should be the name of the outcome?
Dr. Saba, you have 20 minutes to round up so that we
Okay,
can.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, so okay. So group one is experimental. Group two is control. Let's just okay. So we still go for random effects. Then in this case, we still use the inverse variance. Then here we have odd ratio, risk difference. So what we use is the odds ratio. Odds ratio. Same, we use 95% confidence interval. Okay. How do you want it to be sorted? Is it by study ID, effect size? So just like we did the other time, sort the studies by study ID. Okay. Finish. Okay, so we are done now. The next thing is to add our studies. Just like we did the other time. Click here. So we are adding these three studies. So the next thing is to add the data. We have the first one is Wang et al. Okay. So I'm copying everything because we have a similar arrangement, and this one is talking about the number of survived organisms. This is the total number in the experiment. The same thing for the intervention. Okay, but I'm not going to copy it because the experimental is supposed to be here, so I'll do it one by one. Okay. Okay. So here, what we are supposed to do is to change this statement. So as we can see, you will see that the experimental group is on the left, while the control group is on the right. And that's what we picked. Experimental group on the left. So we need to change this label to show that it favors, but I don't want to use this statement because it's quite confusing. So what I'm supposed to do is to say, okay, higher in, that's clearer. Higher in, so since for the experimental, which is on the left, so just say the survival is higher in the control and lower in the experimental group. Okay, so as you can see here, the outcome, but this is the outcome of the forest plot. And what it tells us is that you can see this one now. The heterogeneity is 0%. The heterogeneity, according to this one now, is 0%. So it shows that the studies are much more homogeneous based on the calculation. So in some cases, you can have high homogeneity. So this one, they are very homogeneous. And although, you can see that we have just a few studies here. So if perhaps we have had a higher number of studies, this heterogeneity may not reach this particular value. Then again, the p-value is showing that it is not significant. So that's why the fact that the heterogeneity is low, but there is even no heterogeneity, but this situation is not significant. So it's not statistically significant. So these are some of things we need to note. Then also the overall effect is significant. So it shows that the survival in the experimental group is significantly lower compared to what we have in the control group. It is lower in the experimental group compared to, if you look at this graph, you see that at the bottom, the values are higher towards the right and they are lower to the left. So the effect size eventually is placed on this side of the graph, showing that the survival is significantly lower in the experimental group compared to the control group. I think that is where we are going to stop. So basically, if you want to do this analysis, So at the end of the day, you can just download this figure. Just come here. I think save. Click on save. And you can save it in different formats. PNG, PDF, or what have you. So mostly you use PNG and you save it in any folder on your device. So that is it. Cancel. Okay, so I want to look at the effect of changing to fixed effect and random effect. So this is random effect. So if we change it to fixed effect, there is really no difference based on what I can see here. You can see there is no difference whether it is fixed effect or random effect. The result, although the values are different, but I can see that the overall outcome remains the same. And again, for random effect, calculate the what they call tau heterogeneity. But for fixed effect, it only gives a chi-square. So there's no room for heterogeneity when we talk about fixed effect. I think that answers the question. So when we talk about fixed effect, there's no room for heterogeneity. We are focusing on we are focusing more on the chi-square of the values. So I think that, but what's important is that when you want to carry this out, I know along the line, as you try to try your hands on meta-analysis, things will get clearer. But for this first time, my advice is that we should try, no matter how simple or little it is, you can try to carry out a study, a meta-analysis study, and try to see if it is possible to publish. So it is through that process you can actually get a full gist of the entire. But what's important is that just try to follow the guideline. Once you follow the guideline, I believe you are going to get the correct result. So again, another thing I wanted to show before we call it a day is I know everybody should be able to do this. So once you have been able to identify your studies, for example, here I have my, sorry, not this one. I have my studies. So each of the studies, you just need to go in and try to understand the study design and extract the relevant data. Extract them, put them in Excel, and make sure all the parameters that are needed for the RevMan are included. And with that, you can extract all the data, and the next thing is to input them in RevMan as we have demonstrated. So what I expect now is for each and every one of us to try and do something practically, so that during the process, you run through some issues, some problems. As you try to solve those problems, then you are actually enhancing your ability to carry out the meta-analysis. Because of time, I've been giving some time. I don't know if there are other questions before we call it a day. So I don't know if anybody still has been able to come up with a tailor-made question for possible meta-analysis in our various fields. So perhaps if you have, we can, going forward, look at how to make it something that will come out good at the end of the day.
Hello, sir. Are you done?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We really appreciate the training. Now, as a contribution to what Dr. Saba has said, as regard the usual, I think somebody has a question about, somebody gave a topic that how can we convert it to a meta-analysis? If you look at the last, our last, I think last week when we talked about the methodology, you need to start on the methodology in terms of, okay, if you look at the topic, do you have comparable or similar topics that you can analyze together to form your meta-analysis title, or topics that look alike that you can run the analysis on them? So that is where you have to start from. And for you to be able to get that, you cannot be biased when selecting those papers. And that is why the issue of protocol comes in, the Prisma protocol. You have to follow the protocol from downloading the papers and getting to your final analysis. So the final analysis is the paper that you are going to use while running the meta-analysis. And then also, I will also advise us that most of the time, some of these trainings, sometimes sometimes even for systematic review, you have sometimes people engage in about 8 hours, 5 hours training. But we don't have that amount of time. We just have to manage time and look at what we can give out. That is the reason why we create the group. So what you can do is that if you have, Dr. Saba is also on the group. If you have any topic that you believe, I want to work on this, you can always chat him up for necessary mentoring. When you attend training like this, the best thing you can do for yourself is, one, go and get a sample paper. You are in economics, you are in management, you are in education, get a sample paper. That sample paper, you now give yourself that mandate that I want my paper to be like this. I think that was my first approach. That was the approach I used when I started writing systematic review. After learning how to write it, I downloaded the paper in MPDI, very strong paper. So I just give myself the task, I want my paper to be like this. So I'm from one state to the other, I was able to achieve, though your first draft may not be as perfect as you think, but as time goes on, by the time you have the first paper on that particular methodology, the second paper, then you'll be able to, you have mastered the concept. So on the group, if you have, let's assume you have decided that, okay, I want to write on this paper, you can contact Dr. Saba, is also on the group. You can contact him for guidance. And even when it comes to running the data and analysis, you can also contact him for doing the analysis. Then also for those of us that, let's say, we are having, he said on the issue of those of us in education, social sciences, the issue of quasi-experimental, as Dr. Adunyanwale mentioned, is also applicable, especially for some people in the field of economics, where we call experimental economics. Sometimes people come up with something like intervention, economics, game, and the lies. And then for those of us in education, we are very conversant with the issue of quasi-experimental study, as Dr. Adunyanwale has mentioned. However, for studies where we are making use of regression, definitely if we are using regression, and want to estimate the effect size, and want to evaluate the effect size, data like beta coefficients of the regression value, the R square, is part of those data we have to extract out from any paper we want to use. And for those using structural equation modeling, the path coefficient, the loading are some of the data we are going to extract if we are interested in calculating the effect size when in the area of social sciences, when we are using regression. Or if it is same, then path coefficient and factor loading. So, but as I said earlier, the more you practice or you make an attempt to make use of the analysis, the better it is for you. If you have downloaded and installed the software and you have any challenge along the line in terms of writing the paper, developing anything, Dr. Saba is always there. He's going to guide you along the line. And before you know it, you are through. But if you don't make an attempt, you cannot know it. That is just the principle. Like, for example, some people will come and tell me, oh, I should teach them how to write systematic. After teaching them, they will not do anything. You will not know it. The only way you can know it, go and get a very strong paper, maybe a Q1 or a Q2 paper. Now give yourself a mandate. I want my paper to be like this. So you now start. Start from the topic. If you don't understand how to craft out the topic, seek for advice from the platform. Okay, now I'm done with my topic. How do I structure my methodology and the likes? So you follow that process, you'll be able to write a very quality paper. And I think for some professors that have also trained, that is the advice they used to give. Go and get a paper, try to replicate that paper the way it is when you are writing. And I think with that, we can really achieve that. Any contribution, any question? Then
I wanted to say something.
Okay, sir.
Sorry, I forgot. So in addition to using RevMan for meta-analysis, meta-analysis does not stop with RevMan. There are still many other ways you can play with the data. Because when we say meta-analysis, just like we said, is analyzing existing analyzed data. Because those data we are using are data that have been analyzed. So we now want to pull different analyzed data to come up with a conclusion. So the same thing, apart from using RevMan, because what RevMan does, RevMan has a structure. So if those criteria are not met, RevMan cannot calculate. Even if you have a study that has a mean without the standard deviation, RevMan will not calculate it. So meta-analysis does not stop with RevMan. In addition to RevMan, another thing we can do, just like it was mentioned, you can also decide to look for correlations depending on the way the data is. Then you can even use normal SPSS to compare some parameters from different studies to try to see if it is a statistical significant difference in those means or those data. So it depends on is that how good you are in statistics. But even if one is not so good in statistics, you can still ask some questions that will lead you to, okay, what other parameters can I compare? What other parameters can I correlate to get a better understanding of the different data I'm getting from the different studies? So that's just what I wanted to add, that meta-analysis does not is not limited only to RevMan. Although RevMan, the use of RevMan is a major can be a major aspect of carrying out the meta-analysis. But in addition to that, to make your paper even richer, you can still go ahead and use other software, other analytical tests to get more information from your data. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful contribution, sir. It's true. I think they also make use of Stata and R programming. So you can also use that too. So let us try to make an attempt. As I said, if you have any challenge, you can always rub minds together. Even if you are not good in data analysis, but you have an interest, at least you want to try. At every stage, you can be guided. Even making use of some of these software, it's not that maybe they are that difficult. For the first time, I could remember when I attended structural equation modeling class. It was a 2-day class, and I started from 8 p.m. to 5 p.m. That was in University of Science, Malaysia. The professor was just saying a lot of things I don't understand. But after I left the class, you have to take the notes, read the notes, then look at the software, try to make an attempt. And at the end of the day, today, I can conveniently make use of the software. So if you don't make an attempt, you won't be able to master it. So make an attempt, then since you can always contact the trainer, then it gives you an opportunity. That is the reason why even some of us, when we attend training, the trainer will make sure we have the number, and just so that if we have any issue along the line, we can always rub minds together, and then we can also learn together. Then please, we sent a questionnaire on the platform. Kindly assist us to fill the questionnaire so that you can evaluate the program, so that next time we can know, okay, we need to improve in this area, we need to add this, we need to add this. Kindly assist us to fill the questionnaire. The questionnaire is on the Zoom platform. And also, you can also assist us to, if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you can also assist us to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Mr. Odisanya, I can see your hands up. You have the floor. Mr. Odisanya. Oh.
I want to appreciate you for the comments. Can you hear me now?
Sir, yes, sir.
And
Yes,
okay,
sir.
just a request. When we started the thing, before we started, you sent YouTube video to us, the first one by one Dr. Bamiro Nuruddin. So I don't know if you can get the PowerPoint slide for that video, that training. So I found it very interesting, and I know it'll be helpful for systematic review. So I don't know where you can share the PowerPoint slide with us.
Okay, no problem. Request granted. I will share the PowerPoint with you. Are you on the group?
Okay.
You're on the group. Don't worry, I will share the PowerPoint.
I'm on the group.
Okay, don't worry, I will share the PowerPoint, but it may just be maybe by tomorrow because I'm a little bit weak. I want to rest,
No
but
problem.
I will look for the
No problem.
PowerPoint and also share on the group so that we can also make use of it. You see, some of this methodology, recent time, even for those of us in social sciences, we have upper hand than people in sciences. It's not in social sciences, in management, economics, they don't use it. So if you can try and write a paper on it, most likely most of those editors will accept it because they don't have enough papers in that area. That's one of the strategy of publishing in those top journals. So may God continue to assist us. Any other question or contribution? Okay, if no, if we don't have any, okay.
Yeah, I think we have actually done justice to this, and all we need to do is just to reconcile what we have learned to our field of studies, right? But I just realized that in that RevMan, the outcome of the result, when you observe, it deals with control and experiment variables more. Now, I don't know, can that, one example, the analysis the conclusion part you gave, that we could draw data from outcomes of results like the R square that you mentioned, the estimated coefficient, and compare, right? And compare the results and draw a valid conclusion from previous studies. Now, how do we, let's say some of these variables they are more or less an independent variables that we are looking at, independent variables. How do we now impute them into that RevMan where the control and the experiment value can be edited to capture independent and possibly dependent variables, if that is what we are looking at. So that's just my worry. I know as we progress in looking at literatures, we'll understand how to apply these softwares, to our field of studies, precisely I'm in economics, right? And this is very good as far as I'm concerned. But that is just my worry. Can you please just throw light on it a bit? Thank you.
Okay, is it directed to me?
Yes, sir.
So basically, just like it has been advised, I think it's better to start from simple to complex. You were talking about independent variable. Of course, most of the time, what we look at is actually the dependent variable because it is what we measure. It is we want to look at the effect of something on something. So we try to extract the data. But one thing, just like I said, RevMan is strict with its requirements. If a particular study does not have some parameters, RevMan will not calculate. It will not bring an outcome for those studies. For example, the survival mortality we did the other time, if you look at it, if perchance in one of the studies there is no survival at all, the RevMan will not calculate anything. So it depends on your data, the data you have. If your data is something that could be analyzed using RevMan, then that is fine. And that's why meta-analysis is very strict. For you to end up doing a meta-analysis, you would have gone through a lot of processes. And if you are lucky at the end of the day, some of the studies, those studies will meet the requirements that will make it possible for you to meta-analyze them. So I think at this point, you don't need to be too worried. What you need to do now is to try and follow, try to look for a topic or a problem or a question that you can adapt to what we have done. Then again, maybe you want to look for a paper, although I know sometimes it's difficult to get a paper that has done something very similar in your field, because meta-analysis is still a kind of something that is not so popular out there. So, but if you can try to adapt it, maybe with some little guidance to your field, at the end of the day, you'll be able to end up with data that you can impute into RevMan. So just like I've showed you, any data that does not follow these continuous and dichotomous that I've showed you, although there are some, I've seen that there are some other ways too you can analyze in RevMan, but I think this is a good starting point. So it's only when you can easily do this, you can understand this, you can come up with a study from beginning to the end and understand this, then you can now proceed and look for, okay, what are the other ways in which I can use RevMan? So I don't know if I'm able to answer your question clearly enough.
Yeah. I think I have tried. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dr. Shuaib. Am I correct? Is that you are an economist?
Bernard. Yes.
Okay. Maybe I will also get in touch with you, because I also want to write papers on meta-analysis. I don't have anyone for now. I'm also an economist. So maybe
No, it's my concern. Seriously. Yeah.
No problem. Maybe we can collaborate. Okay. Have a nice time.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye. We are going to send you the recorded video. We are going to send it to the platform, and yes, we are going to send it on the platform. Okay, have a nice time. Bye.